So, my ex-boyfriend cheated on me for the majority of our relationship, but I could never prove it. Finally, one day I was able to find the girl and have a conversation with her. She felt horrible and told me she just found out she was pregnant. I congratulated her and ended my relationship with him, and they began dating. Fast forward a year or so and I'm single with a better job paying more and living my life. The girlfriend messages me on Facebook and asks me to buy her baby diapers and other needs. She found out he was cheating on her and left her for the other woman. She's a single mom with no job and living with her parents now because he was supporting all of them with his plant job. I told her I wasn't comfortable helping her with the baby, being she was sleeping with my boyfriend and continued to sleep with him after I caught them. She told me I was being an idiot and the baby is partially mine, being we were both with him. After reading that, I blocked her, and he messaged me and told me I should help her. Am I the idiot? Just a bit more information. The girl he cheated on me with was a little mentally slow. When we dated, he knew I was a soft-hearted person and did anything I could to help people I knew or didn't know. I often feed the homeless and, at one point, housed a homeless person till they were able to get back on their feet. He used to take advantage of my kind nature by making me feel guilty for any reason he could come up with. When all this happened, he told her to message me because he knew I would feel bad for her, the baby, and her situation. Not the idiot! That girl has lost her marbles by saying that baby is partially yours. It is not. And I'm wondering what kind of new biology that woman studied to come to that conclusion. It's ridiculous that she's asking OP for help. The baby is not partially hers. She needs to hit up the father, who is 100% his, for help. You don't owe them any kind of help. OP may be a kind-hearted person, but at the end of the day, she can choose to help or not. The ex is trying to take advantage of OP's kindness. OP, you are not responsible for the baby. The only people responsible here are the parents. Not the idiot. LOL, no, that's not how this works. And you didn't even know she was with him. That's why it's called cheating. Block him too. You don't know this woman. She's not your friend, nor is she family. She's essentially a stranger asking for charity. While it would be a kindness to help her, not helping doesn't make you an idiot. And frankly, with the bizarre reasoning she threw your way as justification for the ask, it's probably best to just stay far, far away. Why on earth is the father of the kid trying to get his ex to help her? How about message the ex back and tell him to be a parent? I love stories where the other woman gets mad at the first woman because she got cheated on. Like, hey lady, he was a cheater when you met him. Why did you think he'd change? You're exactly right. This isn't a friend or a relative. She has no obligation to help, let alone talk to this woman. Block them all. Even worse, she's not a stranger. She is the other woman. A stranger, I could see helping a stranger. I can see a stranger asking for help, not being an idiot move. But when the other woman has the nerve to ask for help, that's some serious idiocy right there. Not the idiot. The nice thing about breaking up with someone is that they aren't your problem anymore, and their problems aren't your problems. That baby is not part of yours, obviously. She's just trying to play on your sympathies because he cheated on both of us, which is wild given that she's who he was cheating with. This is a whole lot of not your problem. Not the idiot. However, I feel for this poor woman. If, as you say, she has a learning disability, then it wouldn't surprise me if your ex has fed her this nonsense about you being a part of the child's life. Also, when working with adults with learning disabilities, I have found that similarly to children, they can form and break alliances and loyalties very quickly and indiscriminately. This may explain why she felt that she could contact you once she found herself in the same boat as she had put you in before. It's a very sad situation, but neither she nor her child is your responsibility. Imagine how desperate you must be to think the only person you can turn to for help buying baby essentials is your ex-boyfriend's previous girlfriend, who happened to be the girl he cheated on with you. Stay clear of this entire mess. Let both ex and baby mama know that if they contact you again for anything, you will forward their requests for baby needs to Child Protective Services since they can't provide for their baby. My 32 female sister, 37, gave birth to my nephew Luke when she was 20 years old. It was an unexpected pregnancy and the father was married, so he didn't want any child involvement. My parent and sister had to go to work, so I was responsible for babysitting Luke. It was never a burden. I've always loved kids and love my nephew dearly. So for years I babysat every week, to the point that Luke calls me his second mother nowadays. When he was 12, my sister decided he was old enough to take care of himself, so I stopped babysitting. Now I have a child, baby girl. My husband and I have been very busy lately and stressed with work, so we decided to take a day off. I asked Sis if she could babysit my daughter while we were off. She said okay, but I would need to pay her. I was baffled. I even thought this was a joke, but she was dead serious. I asked her about the time that I spent 13 years of my life babysitting her son for free, and she enumerated the reasons why she is demanding payment. I was young, therefore more patient, while she is almost 40. I have never complained, and she didn't oblige me to babysit. She always brought gifts to me, so she considered this a payment. I was like, what? I replied that sometimes she didn't even ask me if I could take care of Luke. She just left me alone with him and only came back hours later. The payment was only some groceries, nothing expensive, and the babysitting also involved cooking, doctor appointments, etc. I had to postpone a lot of plans too, because family comes first. She responded, okay, go find someone else then, and hung up. I don't know if I'm being an idiot because I didn't demand payment at the time. Am I the idiot? Usually I'd be on your sister's side, but you babysat her kid for free for 13 years, and that changes everything. If you do something for someone for free and they don't reciprocate, then they're idiots. 13 years of free babysitting, and this is how she acts? Wow, in your shoes I'd feel so offended that I'd disown her. You saved her thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of dollars, and this is how she shows her gratitude? Holy moly, not the idiot. Not the idiot. It's not as though you asked or expected her to share the burden of raising your child for over a decade. You asked if she could hang out with her niece for a few hours, and she wanted money. Pay a proper babysitter, or depending on how old Luke is, maybe you can pay him. Your sister is such an idiot for even suggesting payment just for a few hours of babysitting when you practically raised her son. I would not do her any favors anymore. Some people don't seem to realize that they are going to need help one day, and that people very much remember how they were treated by you in their time of need. I would legitimately consider never speaking to her again. Nephew is nearly adult, so old enough to keep in contact without the sister. Unless there is more to this story, the sister appears to be a completely self-serving person. Not the idiot. I absolutely agree with this. Also, send her a bill for the 12 years that you babysat for her, and say if you must pay, so does she. Boom. Don't do anything for her again, ever. You have an incredibly petty, selfish sister. No wonder she got pregnant by a married man. Before anyone comes at me for saying it's not just the sister's fault, I know that, and I'm not excusing the man's behavior, just pointing out the character of a person. I've been best friends with Hannah for almost 20 years. She's my closest friend, and I consider her family. I thought I could always turn to her for advice in confidence. Unfortunately, I now know that isn't the case. My husband of 6 years and I have been having some problems recently. I told her about them because I needed advice. I didn't want to tell my family because they can be overprotective. Since my goal is to work on things with my husband, I don't want to say anything to them that they'll hold on to forever. This conversation happened a week and a half ago. She didn't really give me any helpful advice, but just told me to remember how lucky I am and that things will get better on their own. Yesterday, as I was getting ready for bed, my husband came up behind me and started kissing my neck. I thought he wanted to have intimacy until he began to whisper the things I had told Hannah in my ear. Some of the things he said were direct quotes of what I told her, but she exaggerated other things. I don't know if she misunderstood what I meant or what about my marital problems, but she made it seem like I was keeping score over how expensive the gifts were and that I was implying he was cheap. Some things I did say in anger that I shouldn't have said, like I told her that being married to him was like being married to a dictator lately. I tried to explain, but he wouldn't let me. He kept holding me in place while he whispered all of the things I stupidly confided in her, and then he said, "It's a good thing you're the mother of my child, isn't it?" before leaving. He's been stonewalling me whenever I try to bring it up again, and he won't listen to anything I have to say. I know it's my own fault for even saying any of these things, and I shouldn't have confided in Hannah, but I honestly feel terrible. I want to fix things, but I don't know how to when he won't even talk to me. I did text Hannah asking why she would tell him, and she left me on reading. How do I fix this? Is your husband sleeping with Hannah? How was she comfortable enough to tell him all that? And when did she have the time to talk to your husband without you knowing? Did she call him to specifically snitch on you? Forget the fact he knows, something deeper is going on. The fact she even says you are lucky to have your husband shows she wants him. Something isn't right here. Forget fixing this till you find out what's really going on. The reason you felt the way you described to your friend is because your intuition is sensing something wasn't right even before. You just confided in the person who is probably the cause of your husband's behavior. If not physical, maybe emotionally they are involved. Honestly, OP needs to throw them both in the trash can. Thinking of my best friend doing this to me has me seeing red. My bestie would never do this. The absolute betrayal of just telling him quotes from a candid conversation without permission is disgusting. Honestly, if my friend did this, I would assume she was trying to break up my marriage because she wants or is sleeping with my partner. He's not winning any Husband of the Year awards, is he? That's seriously concerning behavior. OP, it's probably time to tell your family what you're going through and use their help. Your husband shouldn't have kept you in place to creepily recite back what he heard or say vaguely scary things like, "Good thing you're our child's mom." If your family's overprotective, consider that they might have a point, because your self-preservation instincts aren't kicking in. You're trying to salvage a relationship that doesn't sound healthy or mature from any side. The neck kiss thing has to be one of the creepiest things I've ever read in my entire life. Are you sure she told him? He sounds really controlling. Could he somehow have heard the conversation? One thing controlling people do, they isolate their partners. Now you think you can't trust her and you're more and more alone. If she did tell him, she's a terrible friend, but you shouldn't feel like you're wrong to reach out to people. It's essential to have a good support system. Dear, he flat out threatened you. You know it isn't right. I have a son, Mikey, little, with my ex, Scotty. We also share a daughter, Emily, toddler. While I was 2-ish months pregnant with Emily, my ex-fiancé cheated and got another woman, Grace, pregnant. We split and he moved into an apartment a few blocks down. She also had a girl, Nancy, toddler. Nancy's mother disappeared almost immediately after she was born. She hasn't been around since. She hasn't attempted to contact or get to know her in any way. We honestly have no clue where she's at. Nancy was born roughly about 3 weeks after Emily. When Nancy got out of the hospital, my ex was having difficulty bouncing between his military work and 2 newborn girls, with a toddler also in the mix. Whenever he would come to visit Emily and Mikey, he would bring Nancy over. I had no problem with this. As time went along, Nancy spent more and more time in my care. My ex had a short deployment when she and Emily were only a few months old. By this time, Nancy had imprinted, so to speak, on me. She had refused formula. As I was already breastfeeding Emily, I decided to start breastfeeding her too, with my ex's permission. I've been there for lots of Nancy's first milestones, and I've documented them along with Emily's. Nancy and I have a very close bond. I treat her as I treat my own son and daughter. They are all also very close, but recently some of my friends have called me an idiot for how I am with Nancy. They said that it's wrong to mislead Nancy into thinking that I'm her mother when I can just decide to up and leave her one day with no consequence as I did not give birth to her. I told them this would never happen again and that leaving Nancy would cause me the same amount of anguish as leaving my biological children. However, they insist that I'm in the wrong and I wanted an outside opinion. I honestly just wasn't going to sit around and watch a baby suffer. She's also my children's siblings, and I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I mistreated a child who never asked to be born. It probably didn't help that my ex and I still go on family outings. Still, I refuse to deprive children of a healthy family experience, together or not. I also don't want my children growing up treating Nancy differently. I should also mention that my ex has been trying to reconcile for the past 4 years. We've spoken about the possibility of fully adopting Nancy if things do work out, but I also want to adopt her regardless. So, am I the idiot for treating my ex-fiancé's biological daughter as my own? Okay, so to be clear, your friends think you should not act as Nancy's mother. What alternative are they proposing? Nancy has no mother at all. So at some point, you'll need to explain to this little girl about her bio-mom, but right now, she just needs to be cared for and loved. Sounds like you got that covered. You are not the idiot. They think OP can just walk away. I can't imagine what would be going through their minds. OP is a fantastic mom and clearly loves all her children. There's no way OP could just dip out of the relationship and not feel absolutely devastated about it. I honestly think they harbour more resentment towards my ex. They told me I got over it too fast and that we were probably still involved the entire time. I've tried to explain I was pregnant and I had a toddler, and I didn't really have a lot of time to be stuck in my feelings about it. They were also pretty upset when she was speaking whole sentences and calling me mommy. They wanted me to tell her when she was 2 that I was not her mother. It made no sense to single out a baby. That ticked me off and we stopped speaking for a while. I feel like I should go no contact again. Not the idiot. But Nancy is at an age where you and your ex should start explaining to her that you are not her biological mother. I'd also consider looking into your legal options, because now your ex can just walk away with Nancy if he wants to, and there's not much you can do. I disagree. 4 is not an appropriate age unless they think the mother will show back up. School age is the age when you can explain these things without making the child feel unwanted. They have a better understanding of the complexities of relationships by then. Also, they have seen more types of families through school, so the definition is not as strict in their minds. My mother-in-law has recently divorced my father-in-law, and she doesn't have a way to survive. All her kids and their spouses have been giving her money, but she claims it isn't enough. My father-in-law was pretty loaded, so I guess she was permanently used to the rich lifestyle. Recently, my wife invited her over, and while I was preoccupied, she took my ring. This ring was my father's ring, and I cherished this ring a lot. It would be terrible if I lost the ring. I thought I just misplaced it, but I couldn't find it anywhere. The next time my wife had a video call with her mother, I saw the ring in the background. I went straight to my mother-in-law's house and asked for my ring back. She tried to play dumb, but I could literally see the ring behind her. She wasn't that tall, so I don't know why she even tried hiding it. I called the cops when she refused with a detailed description of the ring and promptly left. I don't know what the cops did because I wasn't there, but my in-laws aren't too happy. They're pretty upset that I handled the situation by calling the cops instead of checking to make sure it was actually the ring. But I know what I saw. I've had the ring for years and I know what it looks like. My in-laws are calling me all kinds of names. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Go full force. No ring equals no money ever. Never allowed in your home again. Never see grandkids if you have any. Tell your wife she gets it back, or maybe you will consider therapy instead of divorce. Not okay. Go scorched earth. I agree. I mean, she stole from you. Theft is a crime. Just make sure she never has the chance to access any of your bank account or credit card numbers just in case. Might want to pull your credit report once in a while too. Not the idiot. Your mother-in-law stole your dad's ring to pawn it or sell it to support herself. She wouldn't give you the ring back. You had no choice but to call the police about it. If mother-in-law or father-in-law are upset, too bad. Mother-in-law did this to herself and probably thought you'd let it go once she refused to give it back. I hope you get your ring back. If mother-in-law should visit again, hide your valuables, wallet, credit cards, etc. She's desperate for money and will stop at nothing to get it. The only thing I would have done differently is communicated with your wife before the cops. I agree that her actions warranted that, but I would have given your wife a heads up that this was the next step out of courtesy to her. Obviously, warmth and trust were compromised by her theft and denial, but now that your relationship has required a law enforcement intervention, I suspect things